If you see a company hyping a product that no one else has, that no one else makes, you've not heard of anywhere else, that's a red flag.
I'm Chris, the helpful pharmacist. I am a biochemist and a pharmacist, and today we're going to talk about health and explain things to you in a way that you can make some actionable changes in your life. So let's get going.
So there's a product actually that I just reported to the FDA myself last week. Someone asked me a question about this product I wasn't familiar with, and I'm not going to name the name, and I'm not going to mention what it is or how it works. But I told them, I wasn't familiar with it. I'm going to look it up for you. And immediately, red flag. And the first red flag was that they were actually taking what is a prescription drug and putting it in a lower dose in a supplement. And I'm like, whoa, that's not good. In this case, it was actually a mental health prescription, one of the most potent drugs there is actually for mental health. And they decided to put it into a supplement, which was very mind-blowing. And so I actually filed a report with the FDA and basically gave them my position on it, why I thought it was unsafe and some information about it in the hopes that they would basically contact the company and basically uphold them to the standard which they should be. So again, in this case, you have a company who is basically taking a pharmaceutical, putting it into a supplement, and then marketing it for the same thing the pharmaceutical does. In this case, that's mental health. So it's like, yeah, obviously, if you take a pharmaceutical that's for mental health and then sell it as a mental health supplement, people are going to feel results. But that's not really how pharmaceuticals work. They're tools. They can do good things and they can do bad things. And it's how you use them, when you use them, why you use them, and how much you use of them that really determines the outcome of the result. So the idea that they're going to take this highly monitored, highly problematic pharmaceutical and then have people self-dose it and self-manage it is just this crazy concept. And it just illustrates how any pharmaceutical or any supplement can be actually made into a supplement. Because I think if you pulled in 100 psychiatrists or 100 pharmacists and said, should this be allowed to be sold as a supplement? Everyone would literally start laughing and be like, no, absolutely not. There's zero reason or zero justification, but here we are. They had a very fancy website with lots of cool colors and lots of cool videos. And they claimed they had 40 or so scientific evidence articles, but only 2 examples. And both of those examples were in completely different contexts. They had nothing to do with what they were being used for. So once I started looking at that website, it was just like this long list of red flags. You're using a pharmaceutical as a supplement. You're claiming scientific studies that don't even mention your product or mention the context in which the product's being used. At the same time, this company only made one product, which personally to me is a red flag. Because, for example, most major companies make more than one product. For example, Apple, they make phones, they make computers, they make watches. It's hard to name a top 5 or top 10 company that only makes a single product. So I personally always educate people, if you see a supplement company that only sells one product, you want to be a little cautious there. There's just a lot of red flags. And so I decided to do what I thought was best and basically inform the FDA that these people are probably doing something they shouldn't be doing and putting people at risk. You'll oftentimes see the CGMP. That means good manufacturing practices. That is not the same thing as third-party certified. So I want to be very clear on that. I think that's something that a lot of these companies, they try to use to get away with that claim. So the GMP just means that someone came in who was an auditor and reviewed the protocols for how you manufacture and clean your facility and said that you more or less meet the standards that are required. That is not the same as manufacturing a supplement and then making that supplement go through a lab and actually testing what's in the actual supplement. A lot of these companies is they're using one to imply the other and hoping that people don't understand the difference. So I think that's a really important thing to be mindful of. Again, what I also want to point out is that a lot of these companies that get caught doing things they shouldn't be doing, they have the GMP certification, which again kind of implies it's not really the end all or be all. And again, just because your facility runs well on Monday doesn't mean on Thursday or Friday you're going to have that same practice. And again, the goal is not to evaluate the manufacturing process, but the product. So yes, it's great that you have your process certified. You should definitely have that. But really the end goal here is the product. That's what the patient puts in their body. And if you're not certified or testing that, you're really missing the point of the goal here. So along the lines of red flags, I think these are really important and really handy for consumers because they're pretty simple, they're pretty straightforward, and once you understand what they are, you can pick them out pretty quickly. In the example of that product that I reported that I don't want to mention the name, one thing that stood out to me is that the molecule or the ingredient they were marketing, no one else uses. So if you think about supplements as this multi-billion-dollar, trillion-dollar industry, it's got lots of smart people. There's companies that have been around for 10, 20, 30, 40 years. They have hundreds of millions of dollars. They know what they're doing. If something revolutionary comes along, they know about it. They've heard about it. They have a whole department for that. So a lot of times for me personally, if you see a company hyping a product that no one else has, that no one else makes, you've not heard of anywhere else, that's a red flag. Because what you typically tend to see in these top 5 or top 10 companies is they all have similar products. There are unique differences. There are manufacturing differences and precursor differences and things like that, but they're typically in similar products. And they don't necessarily have one radical ingredient that no one else has. So I think if you see a company that only has one product that you've never heard of, and that product is revolutionary in nature or what it is, that no one else sells it, that's a red flag. Because science doesn't work that way. In fact, science is peer reviewed by definition. You have to publish in a group of people that's publicly available for other people to review, consider, and reply on. By nature, that means everyone knows what you're doing. And so if you have this wonderful, life-changing product and no one else knows about it and no one else is doing it, it probably implies there's not a lot of peer review going on. And you probably weren't very public about it, because if you were, you'd see with other companies. And you see with pharmaceuticals all the time. When a pharmaceutical comes out that's very successful, all the other companies copy it. It is the most important and common model in pharmaceuticals. So obviously if pharmaceutical companies do that and they're the standard and they're the cutting edge, there's no reason why supplement companies would be any different. At the same time, the barrier to make a new supplement is much cheaper than a pharmaceutical. So if a supplement company has a major breakthrough, the barrier for another company to try to copy or remove that product is very small and very minimal. So again, it goes back to the idea, if you only see one company advertising or hyping one product, that's probably because there's something they're not telling you.
Today, again, we really focused on the safety of supplements and why it matters. This is the number one topic I always talk about with supplements is safety and third-party certifications, because there's a lot of examples like we mentioned. If you have any questions, please leave those below. We definitely respond to those. Check out our other videos. Like I said, we have more information, especially about supplements and information. So definitely check it out. Thank you for listening. I hope you guys got something out of this.